there's been a huge hubbub about leaks coming out from the White House. Well, I got news for you. There are definitely leaks coming out from the White House. The Republicans are complaining, and they're right in the substance of the attack, which is that the administration is clearly leaking to what they view to be their political advantage. And what they've leaked about is the drone attacks. Now, it seems like a hideous thing to brag about, but President Obama's team loves bragging, oh, we're tougher than the Republicans. Our kill list is awesome. You know, we do signature strikes where we kill people without even knowing who they are. And of course, the Republicans applaud that. And then they have found an ingenious way to criticize that, saying, oh, my God, I don't mind you killing people senselessly. That's terrific. I mind you bragging about it. Here's John McCain.
Our intelligence leaders in the administration say that this is the worst breach that they have ever seen. So that is what's really offensive.
That's what's offensive. It's the worst breach they've ever seen. An administration bragging about things that they've done in national security that are actually classified. Because the Bush administration never did that, right? Oh, come on, come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. And that's what they did all the time. I'm not just talking about the Scooter Libby leak. In that case, they outed a CIA agent. It was, you know, that turned into literally a national case because of that, right? But every day they would leak things about, oh, well, we can't tell you, but I'll tell you, George Bush is so tough on these terrorists. And they would brag about what they did, whether it was in Iraq, whether it was in the bombings, et cetera, et cetera. So the Republicans crying a river about it is hilarious. Now, they're also complaining about cyber warfare against Iran. That was another leak that apparently we took part in it. And also, by the way, helping to identify targets for assassination in Iran. And look at the things we're bragging about. You know, some of those, well, almost all those scientists were civilians in Iran. One time I read a story about how we executed. Now, we didn't necessarily do it, but now because of the leaks, we know that we were at least a part of it. Helped to execute physicists in Iran that had nothing to do with their nuclear program, just to send a message that if you do physics in Iran, if you study or teach physics in Iran, we might murder you. How do you like that message? And Democrats and Republicans here in Washington are competing over who gets credit for that. It's repulsive. And now, of course, the substance of these leaks is not discussed in the mainstream media. Instead, what's discussed is, oh my God, well, who's it a political advantage for, Republicans or Democrats? The other leaks were about the drone program, as I said, and the double agent that apparently penetrated a militant group in Yemen. So now President Obama, once we get into the partisan game, says, it wasn't me. Let's watch.
The notion that my White House would purposely release classified national security information is offensive.
Oh, God, offensive. Deeply offensive. Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. Did they leak it? Of course they leaked it. Every single story on it, including the giant New York Times story, says inside administration officials. Gee, I wonder which administration they're talking about. Of course it's the Obama administration. The only question is who. Now, David Axelrod is going to go on there, go on national television as well, and he's going to say, well, us?
I sat with the president for 2 years when I was in the White House, you know, I don't think there was anything that weighed on him more heavily than these life and death decisions. He understands that when he commits people to missions, that their lives are at stake and the safety of Americans are at stake. And the last thing that he would countenance, or anybody around him would countenance, are leaks that would jeopardize the security of Americans on these secret missions and the success of those missions. So, you know, I think when he said on Friday that he was offended about it, he was speaking from that place.
He was speaking from that place. He was very careful with his words, if you listen carefully. He said, like, the president cares deeply about this, and no one that is the president or anyone around him would ever countenance any of our guys getting hurt because of leaks. So then later he can come back and say, well, it wasn't any of us. We gave it to an underling to leak. And number two, you can come back and say, oh, no, those leaks that we gave, of course, weren't going to hurt national security or any of our guys. No, if they get caught, right? So the other part is what do you do with whistleblowers normally? Well, Axelrod's going to address that as well. Watch.
the White House is opposed to, and I think you know this, George, we've come under attack because we've been tougher on leaks than any administration in recent history, and we've been criticized for that. But it's the right thing to do because of the very issue that's been raised. We want to make sure that the people we assign to these very difficult tasks are safe, or as safe as they can be, and we want to make sure that these missions are successful.
Okay.
He is absolutely right about half of that. They have been tougher on whistleblowers than any administration in the past. In fact, they broke the record on how many people are charged with the Espionage Act, even though they're whistleblowers. Now, the half he's not right about is, no. If you leak things that the administration doesn't like, well, then they're going to come after you 100%, like they did to Bradley Manning. They're going to strip you naked at night. They're going to keep you in isolation for close to a year when you're not even charged with a crime at the time. They're going to do all sorts of brutal things to you if you leak information the president doesn't want you to leak. Now, of course, the half he didn't tell you is when the president likes what you're leaking, well, we're the ones leaking it. And if we find out that it was Axelrod who leaked information or any of the president's top advisors, are we going to strip him naked like we did to Bradley Manning? Are we going to keep them in isolation for 11 months? Are we going to charge them with the Espionage Act? Aiding the enemy? Is that what we're going to charge them with? I can't wait. But that's not how Washington works. This is just partisan patty cakes. And they're going to play these games, and in the end, they're going to score some political points, but no one in power will ever actually have to suffer any of the consequences. No. The people who suffer consequences are the ones that actually challenge the government to do the right thing. If you do the wrong thing and you brag about killing people you don't even know about, you brag about civilian casualties. There's a very conservative estimate now that since 2004, our drone strikes have killed 17% of the people they have killed are civilians. That's very conservative, okay? Only the ones they confirm are civilians. So you kill all those civilians? Oh, that's great. You brag about that all day long. There's no consequence. If you show people that we killed those civilians, then we're coming for you. In fact, there's a journalist sitting in prison right now in Yemen because President Obama personally called the leader of Yemen at the time and said, do not pardon him, do not release him. If you actually show the American people or anyone across the world what we actually do, we will come for you and we will put you in prison. Now, if you brag about it, on the other hand, well, then you're an American hero. That's how this sick system works.